Chapter 1. The Last Day. The air reeked of smoke and blood. Trip Adams sprinted across the shattered street, lungs burning, boots slipping on wet concrete. All around him, the monsters shrieked, towering things with jagged limbs and eyes like molten glass. They had spilled out of the rift less than an hour ago, the fourth wave in just a year. And once again, humanity was losing. Kid, get out of there. Trip's voice tore through the chaos as he spotted the child pinned beneath an overturned hovercart. The boy's tiny hands were stretched out, reaching for freedom, while one of the creatures stalked forward, chittering, drool sizzling as it hit the ground. Trip didn't think. He never did in moments like this. Instinct carried him. He slammed his steel rebar, ripped from the ruins of a construction site, into the creature's head. The impact rattled his arms, but the thing shrieked and reeled back, ichor spraying. Trip hooked his hands under the cart and heaved, muscles screaming. Come on, come on. The child scrambled free, bolting toward the safety of a nearby shelter line. Relief washed over Trip for half a heartbeat, until a shadow fell across him. A claw pierced through his chest. Trip gasped, warm blood flooding his throat. His vision blurred as he stared down at the jagged limb that had skewered him. The monster roared, lifting him into the air like a trophy. Worth it, Trip croaked, a weak smile tugging at his lips. The kid was safe. That was enough. The last thing he saw before the world faded to black was the rift burning brighter in the sky, like an open wound in reality. Darkness. Tribulation system activated. Trip's eyes shot open. He was lying in his own bed. The sheets smelled faintly of detergent, not blood. His chest, whole. Untouched. No gaping wound. What the hell? He sat up, heart hammering. The clock beside him glowed. 5:42 a.m. That wasn't right. He had died around noon. Congratulations, Survivor Trip Adams. Due to extraordinary sacrifice, you have been granted a regression. Time set, 24 hours prior to death. New class unlocked, Guardian Architect. Rank, SS. Panels of glowing text hovered in the air before him, blue and gold. His eyes widened, reading each line as if his life depended on it. Regression, SS rank, Guardian Architect. His voice cracked, disbelief giving way to something dangerous, hope. A system panel fully unfolded. Tribulation panel. A name, Trip Adams. A class, Guardian Architect. A rank, SS. A level, 1. A HP, 100 out of 100. AMP, 250 of 250. A strength, 45. A agility, 39. A vitality, 62. A mind, 81. A willpower, 95. Unique skills. A infinite aegis, SS create an unbreakable barrier within designated territory. Barrier expands up to 5 acres and rises 200 m high. Cannot be penetrated by any known force. A regressor's resolve, SS allows the user to retain memories, experiences, and achievements from timelines of death. Enhances decision-making. A architect's hand, S instantly reconstruct or reinforce structures within your territory using ambient matter and mana. Trip's mouth went dry. An infinite barrier. He whispered it like a prayer. A shield no monster could break. His mind raced, replaying the moment of his death, the helplessness, the weakness. If he'd had this ability then, he could have saved not just one child, but everyone. Main quest issued. Preserve humanity. Air objective, save at least 10% of the remaining human population, current population, 10% of original. A reward, completion of tribulation. Humanity transcends. A failure, extinction. Trip's breath caught. 10%. That's millions of people. His hands trembled. He was no leader. Just a construction worker who'd swung steel and poured concrete his whole life. But the system didn't care. The quest had been given. And there was no refusing it. He stumbled out of bed, threw open his apartment window. The city stretched before him, New Amexem, gleaming towers interlinked, 7 colossal domiciles per district, each one like a vertical country. In the dawn light, it looked peaceful. Normal. But Trip knew what was coming. By noon tomorrow, the wave would strike. He had lived it. Died in it. Not this time. I won't let it happen again, he muttered, clenching his fist. And as if in answer, the infinite aegis stirred. A pulse of golden light burst from his chest, rippling outward. From the base of his domicile, a dome erupted, shimmering like glass but dense as steel. It expanded, sweeping across 5 acres of city block, climbing skyward until it capped 200 meters high. People below gasped, pointing upward. Shouts rang out. Trip stared, wide-eyed, as the barrier settled into place. Perfect. Absolute. Untouchable. Holy shit, he whispered. For the first time since the rifts opened, Trip Adams felt something he hadn't dared believe in for a year. Hope. Chapter 2. The System's Second Chance. The morning sun had just broken over New Amexem, gilding the city's sleek domiciles in warm light, when Trip Adams realized half the district was staring at him. The golden dome shimmered like a second sky above the buildings, casting rippling reflections over glass and steel. People on the street below pointed, whispered, even recorded with wrist cams. Trip leaned against his window, heart pounding. Guess subtleties out the window. He hadn't meant to activate infinite aegis so soon. But the moment he wished for protection, the ability had flared to life on its own. A fortress, 5 acres wide, 200 meters tall. His entire domicile was wrapped in an unbreakable shield. Infinite Aegis active. A duration, permanent, unless manually dismissed. Integrity, 100%, impenetrable. A mana drain, 0, unique effect. Trip scrolled through the system window again, still reeling. No upkeep. It just stays. He exhaled sharply. This isn't just defense. This is salvation. For the first time in a year, people inside the barrier weren't looking over their shoulders for monsters. They were gawking at the dome, eyes wide, voices buzzing with something dangerously close to relief. Trip couldn't blame them. If he were them, he'd probably be crying. He needed to think, plan, prepare. He remembered how the wave would come tomorrow. Noon. Streets would run red. If he didn't use the second chance carefully, the regression would be wasted. Quest reminder, preserve humanity. A progress, 0%. The system's words floated in the corner of his vision like a brand. He clenched his fist. Right. One barrier isn't enough. I need people, fighters, healers, engineers, anyone with ability. If I just try to lone wolf this, everyone's screwed. Trip grabbed his jacket, strapped the rebar staff to his back, and headed down the stairwell. The dome's entrance pulsed faintly, allowing him to pass through with a mere thought. The streets buzzed. Dozens had gathered near the shimmering edge of the barrier, murmuring in awe. That's SS rank, no doubt. Do you think he's a Lord candidate? Wait, does that mean we're safe here? Their eyes locked on Trip as he emerged. Whispers spread like wildfire. That's him, the one who made the dome. Is he the Guardian? He looks normal. Trip scratched the back of his head. He wasn't ready for this kind of attention. Just yesterday, well, technically today, he'd been a construction worker, invisible in the crowd. No. He was their pillar of hope. That was when he heard it. Trip. Yo, is that really you? The voice was deep, familiar. Trip turned and blinked in disbelief. Striding toward him was a tall, broad-shouldered man in a loose black GI, his hair tied back in a warrior's knot. His sharp eyes gleamed with excitement. Lamar Jones. Trip's throat tightened. He remembered all too clearly, Lamar hadn't survived yesterday's wave. He'd died protecting a group of kids near the plaza. But now, here he was. Alive. Whole. A day before his fate. Damn, man, it really is you. Lamar clapped a hand on Trip's shoulder. Word on the street is some fool threw up a god shield around the whole block. I should have known it'd be you. Always doing extra. Trip stared at him for a long moment, emotions warring inside. He wanted to tell him, you died. I watched you die. But no. Not yet. Instead, he managed a weak laugh. Guess I lucked out. Lamar tilted his head. That panel of yours, it upgraded, didn't it? Trip hesitated, then nodded. If there was one man he could trust, it was Lamar. They'd known each other for years, construction site brawls, late-night ramen runs, even anime marathons when the world still felt safe. SS rank, Trip admitted quietly. Lamar's eyes widened before a grin split his face. Knew it. I knew you weren't built for no average rank. Man, the system finally recognized. He straightened, serious now. Listen. I'm not gonna lie. The fifth wave's coming, ain't it? Trip froze. How do you know? Call it gut. My panel gave me chills this morning. Lamar raised his wrist, summoning his own window. Tribulation panel. A name, Lamar Jones. A class, Martial Flame Disciple. A rank, S. A level, 12. A HP, 450 of 450. A MP, 300 of 300. A strength, 88. A agility, 120. A vitality, 60. A mind, 145. A willpower, 80. Unique skills. Ebok May Strike/Phoenix Eye. S delivers a barrage of strikes that ignores 50% of enemy defense. Flame Chi Channeling. A imbue fists and strikes with burning energy. A battle intent. B increases power by 20% while facing stronger foes. Trip whistled. S rank, huh? That's not SS, Lamar said, shrugging, but enough to put a dent in the bastards. And enough to know I ain't letting you do this alone. He jabbed a thumb at the barrier. You got the fortress. I got the fists. Between the two of us, we can actually make this city stand. Trip's chest tightened. In the previous timeline, Lamar had fought to the bitter end and died anyway. But now he was here. An ally. A friend. A second chance. Yeah, Trip said, voice firm. Let's stand together. Notification. New ally added. Name, Lamar Jones. Bond status, linked, regression recognition. Effect, plus 5% combat efficiency when fighting alongside each other. Trip blinked. The system recognized allies? That hadn't shown up in his last life. Maybe this was another perk of regression. Either way, it meant one thing. The path forward wasn't his alone. All right, Lamar cracked his knuckles, fire chi flickering around his fists. So what's the game plan, boss? Trip smirked faintly. First, we test this fortress. Then, we start gathering people who can fight. Healers, tacticians, anyone who can contribute. Because tomorrow... His gaze lifted to the rift burning faintly above the sky, invisible to those who didn't know to look. Tomorrow, hell comes back. And this time, we're ready. Chapter 3. Building a Fortress. The golden dome shimmered silently above them, a beacon of hope and confusion alike. Survivors pressed close to the barrier's edge, peering up in awe as if waiting for it to vanish at any second. But inside the heart of the 5-acre shield, Trip Adams had only one thought. This place has to become more than a shield. It has to become a home. A fortress. Trip summoned his panel. Tribulation panel. Guardian Architect. A level 2. A skills unlocked. A architect's hand. S. Manipulate, reinforce, or construct structures instantly within territory. A keystone resonance. A. Channel mana into the barrier's foundation. Create defensive turrets, alarms, or mana nodes within its radius. A guardian's might. A. Manifest constructs of hardened force, weapons, shields, for personal combat. Durability scales with willpower. A seismic reinforcement. B. Strike the ground to create shockwaves, knocking enemies back while strengthening allied footing. Trip exhaled slowly. He noticed there wasn't much of a change in stats at level 2, but his unique skills was entirely something else. These weren't just passive tricks. They were weapons, tools, everything he hadn't had the first time around. All right, time to test this. Lamar watched as Trip stepped into the plaza near the center of the dome. With a deep breath, Trip spread his hands. Architect's hand. The ground rumbled. Shards of stone, steel, and broken concrete from old construction debris lifted into the air, swirling like iron filings in a storm. Trip clenched his fist, and the fragments fused. Walls rose, arching into clean, geometric lines. In less than a minute, a 3-story bastion stood in the plaza, seamless and strong. Lamar let out a low whistle. Man, you're like Minecraft with cheat codes. Trip laughed breathlessly, sweat beading at his temple. The fortress wasn't flashy, but it was solid. Reinforced gates. Overlapping walls. Firing platforms for ranged combatants. And that was just the beginning. New feature unlocked. Keystone Resonance. Would you like to invest 50 out of 270 mana points into a defense node? Trip confirmed. A glowing symbol flared into the wall. A hum filled the air, and a crystalline turret grew from the stone, its surface alive with runic light. It swiveled automatically, scanning for hostile signatures. Auto-defense, Trip whispered. His heart hammered. I can build actual weapons into the dome. Lamar grinned, slamming a fist into his palm. We're cooking now. You get us a fortress, I'll get us soldiers. But Trip wasn't done. His fingers tightened. Mana surged through him, guided by instinct. Guardian's might. Golden light erupted from his hand, solidifying into a massive shield taller than himself. It shimmered like crystal glass, yet felt weightless. He swung it experimentally, and with a thought, it reshaped into a long spear, then a twin-bladed glaive. His pulse quickened. Not just defense, he murmured. I can fight too. Sparkled. About time. Was wondering if you were planning to poke monsters with that rebar forever. Trip smirked. Don't diss the rebar. It saved my life. Then he planted his new golden shield into the ground. But yeah, this feels better. As if answering his resolve, the system chimed. New combat technique derived. Seismic reinforcement, B, upgraded, Guardian's Quake, A. A slam shield or weapon into the ground to generate a shockwave. Air effect, damages and staggers enemies, fortifies allies in radius with plus 20% stability. Trip blinked at the upgrade. It evolves with me. He looked around the dome, the nervous faces, the frightened families. They needed food stations, medical tents, and water reserves. He could build those now. Lamar, he said firmly, we're turning this place into humanity's first real fortress. Go find people who can fight, or heal, or build. Bring them here. This isn't just a safe zone anymore, it's going to be our stronghold. Lamar's grin was fierce. Now you're talking my language. Leave the recruiting to me. As Lamar left, Trip turned back to the fortress walls, golden spear glowing in his grip. His chest tightened. Yesterday, no, today, he had died, impaled like an insect. Powerless. No. He was an SS-rank Guardian architect. A regressor. The man who could build a bastion against the end of the world. And this time when the wave came, he'd be ready. Chapter 4, Lamar Jones, The Martial Flame. The warning came like a shiver in the air. At noon sharp, the rift tore open above New Amexem. Black light spread like ink across the sky, splitting wide to reveal a jagged mouth of flame and shadow. The fifth wave had begun. Trip stood at the edge of his barrier dome, spear of golden force in hand, eyes narrowed. The infinite aegis glowed behind him, humming like the heartbeat of a god. Inside it, thousands huddled safe for the first time in a year. But safety ended at the barrier's edge. Trip, Lamar muttered, cracking his knuckles. His GI fluttered in the hot wind spilling from the rift. They're coming. Trip could already see them, figures pouring from the sky like a rain of claws and fangs. The first were small, dog-like beasts of jagged bone, sprinting on all fours with shrieks that split the air. Behind them loomed giants with tusks of obsidian, their hulking frames smashing through the streets as if they were paper. Up in the sky, winged shadows darted around restlessly. Their hungry cries echoed, sharper and louder with every turn above their heads. The fifth wave had arrived. Remember the plan, Trip said firmly. The dome's untouchable. Civilians stay inside. We fight them out here, keep the line clear. No one gets left out. Lamar grinned, fire chi already flickering over his fists. I like it simple. They weren't alone. A dozen figures had gathered at the barrier's edge, strong classes who had chosen to trust Trip's fortress instead of scattering. A woman in crimson robes, pyromancer, rank A, flames dancing at her fingertips. A hulking man with a steel warhammer, ironbreaker, rank A. A pair of twins, sleek and pale, shadow rogues, rank B, blades dripping with dark mana. They eyed Trip with wary respect. None questioned his SS rank status. The barrier above them said enough. All right, Guardian, the pyromancer said, voice sharp. We'll follow your lead. Trip tightened his grip on his golden spear. Then let's give humanity a win for once. The beasts hit the street like a tidal wave. Here they come. Lamar bellowed. He crouched low, flame chi surging around his frame, then exploded forward like a cannonball. His fist struck the first creature's skull. Bach May strike/Phoenix Eye, critical. The beast's head detonated in a burst of fire, body collapsing mid-charge. Lamar spun, his second fist sweeping out in a crescent of flame that scorched through 3 more monsters. He grinned ferally. Hell yeah, I'm here for all of this. Trip moved in beside him, golden shield shimmering into existence on his arm. A hulking tusked beast swung its obsidian club down toward him. Trip met it head-on. Guardian's Quake, activated. He slammed the shield into the ground. A golden shockwave rippled out, blasting the beast back and staggering the swarm. The pavement cracked beneath his boots, but inside the dome the civilians didn't feel a tremor. His power reinforced their footing. The pyromancer took advantage, flames erupting from her palms to engulf a cluster of shrieking beasts. The rogues Nettie and May darted in and out of shadows, blades flashing. The Ironbreaker Isaiah crushed a skull with one swing of his warhammer. It was working. The shrieks intensified overhead as winged forms dove. "Trip!" Lamar called. "I see them." Trip lifted his hand, sending out a burst of golden light. Keystone resonance, aerial turrets deployed. From the top of the barrier's walls, crystalline cannons burst into being, swiveling skyward. They hummed, and unleashed lances of searing light that shredded the first wave of flyers. Burning corpses rained down, sizzling on the pavement. Gasps rang from the allies fighting beside him. "You built auto-weapons?" the Ironbreaker muttered, awestruck. Trip set his jaw. "We build everything we need. That's my class." But the rift roared louder. A shadow loomed. Something massive emerged, 10 meters tall, plated in jagged obsidian armor, eyes glowing red. It roared, and the ground shook. Abyssal juggernaut, elite monster. Threat level, A+. Even Lamar's grin faltered. "Okay. That one looks like a problem." Trip swallowed hard. He remembered this thing from before his regression. It had torn through dozens of fighters, unstoppable. It had taken Lamar's life in the last timeline. Not this time. "Everyone fall back." Trip barked. "Lamar, on me." The juggernaut thundered forward, each step shattering the road. Trip planted his shield and braced. Lamar crouched, flame chi burning bright. "On 3, Trip said. 1, 2, 3. The monster swung its obsidian club. Trip raised his shield. Impact. A shockwave like thunder. The shield held, golden light rippling but unbroken. Trip roared and shoved back, forcing the beast to stagger half a step. "Now!" Lamar leapt high, chi blazing around his fist. Flame chi channeling, overdrive. His strike slammed into the juggernaut's face. Fire erupted, searing through its obsidian plating. The beast howled, clawing at its own melting face. Trip surged forward, spear of golden force manifesting in his grip. Guardian's might, piercing thrust. The spear stabbed into the creature's chest, glowing bright. Trip shouted, forcing mana into the construct, and the spear detonated in a blast of golden shards. The juggernaut shrieked once, then collapsed in a smoking heap. For a moment, silence. Then the allies around them roared. They took it down. An A+ threat, killed in minutes. With them, we can win this. Trip stood panting, sweat dripping into his eyes, Lamar landing beside him with a grin. "Damn, Trip," Lamar said, clapping his shoulder. "You're not just a builder anymore. You're a damn juggernaut yourself." Trip managed a weak laugh. "Don't get used to it. That was just the start. There'll be more." Above them, the rift still churned. The fifth wave wasn't over. Not by a long shot. But for the first time, humanity had struck a serious blow to the creatures of the rift. Chapter 5, Charmaine Martinez, Steel and Spice. The rift finally closed with a guttural snap, the sky stitching itself shut. The battlefield outside the barrier lay littered with corpses, charred, shattered, and burning from where Lamar, Trip, and the others had fought tooth and nail. Trip leaned on his spear of golden force, chest heaving. His muscles burned, but his heart thundered with something else entirely. They won. For the first time since the tribulation began, he had survived a wave without watching everything fall apart. Inside the dome, the cheers were deafening. Families pressed against the barrier walls, crying, shouting, lifting their hands toward the fighters who had just returned. Trip opened his panel and blinked. Tribulation panel, Guardian Architect. Level, 9. HP, 420 of 420. MP, 690/690. Strength, 68, plus 25. Agility, 55, plus 18. Vitality, 125, plus 63. Mind, 132, plus 51. Willpower, 149, plus 54. New skill acquired, People's Bulwark, SS Passive. Air effect, For every individual protected under Infinite Aegis, increase all stats of user and linked allies by plus 0.5%. A current dome population, 2034. A total buff, plus 1017% to all stats. Trip nearly dropped his spear. What the hell? His strength stat flickered from 68 to 690 after multipliers. His willpower, already monstrous, spiked into absurd numbers. Even Lamar, standing beside him, blinked as his own panel shifted. Ally bond detected. People's bulwark applied. All stats plus 1017%. Lamar looked at his fists, fire chi blazing brighter than ever before. Bro. Do you see this? I feel like I could punch a mountain in half. Trip swore under his breath. This isn't just a class. This is an army's worth of power tied to me. If I keep the dome full, we're unstoppable. The realization settled over him heavy as steel. His strength grew with the people he protected. The more he saved, the stronger they all became. He didn't have long to process before a woman stepped forward from the gathered survivors. She was striking, tall, with bronze skin and a cascade of dark curls tied back in a scarf patterned with flame motifs. Her apron was splattered with ashen sauce, as though she'd come straight from a kitchen fire. But her eyes were sharp, steady, and blazing with the same intensity as the fighters outside. "You," she said, voice carrying authority born not of battlefields but of boardrooms and bistros. "You're the Guardian, right? The one who put this dome up?" Trip nodded, wary. "Yeah. Trip Adams. And you?" She placed a hand on her chest, a small smirk curling her lips. "Charmaine Martinez. Former bistro mogul, current pyromancer, A rank." She lifted her hand. Flame danced across her fingers, forming the shape of a knife before dissipating. The crowd murmured. Trip blinked. "Wait. A bistro mogul?" Charmaine chuckled. "You build walls, I built empires of spice and fire. Turns out, all that passion for flame in the kitchen translated well when the system came knocking." Tribulation panel, Charmaine Martinez. A class, pyromancer. A rank, A. A level, 17. A HP, 380 of 380. A MP, 290 of 290. A strength, 150. A agility, 98. A vitality, 260. A mind, 410. A willpower, 287. Unique skills. A Inferno Chef, a conjure flames with precision. Cooking applications grant enhanced stamina recovery for allies who eat prepared meals. A Ember Blades, B-shape flames into culinary knife constructs for melee. A Dragon's Pan, summon a wide burst of cooking fire that doubles as an AoE combat inferno. A Searing Aroma, sea flames infused with spices can disorient enemies, lowering their agility. Trip stared. Cooking flames. Charmaine's smirk widened. Don't underestimate a woman who's burned down a dozen kitchens and still kept her 5-star reviews. Lamar burst out laughing. "I like her already." Trip's seriousness returned. "We'll need you. You saw how bad it gets out there. This fortress isn't just about defense, it's about survival. Food, healing, morale. You can do more than fight." Charmaine crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. "And what's in it for me?" Trip hesitated, then gestured at the barrier overhead. "Safety. A place to live, not just survive. And," he pulled up his panel, showing her the buff. "Strength. You step under this dome, your stats multiply by 1,000%. You want to live? You want to win? This is where you'll do it." Charmaine's eyes widened, flames flickering instinctively at her fingertips as she felt the surge. Her mind stat ballooned into the stratosphere. "All right, Guardian," she said finally, voice quieter now. "You've got yourself a pyromancer. Let's see if this fortress of yours can really hold." Trip allowed himself a small smile. Lamar cracked his knuckles, fire chi dancing. The pyromancer stood ready at his side. And behind them, 2,000 souls whose very presence fueled their power. The fortress wasn't just stone and shields anymore. It was people. And together, They had just taken their first step toward saving humanity. Chapter 6 T. Coulson and Amari, Gunmetal Prayer, 3 months later. Time moved oddly inside the dome. Outside, rifts still bled monsters. Outside, skies still ripped open like paper. Whole cities still fell in a day. Inside Trip's infinite aegis, people rebuilt like ants in a fortress. A market had sprung up by month 1. Makeshift schools by month 2. By month 3, the dome hummed with industry. Foundries repairing damaged drones, med teams inventing triage techniques, teachers teaching arithmetic again, and cooks, of course, turning scavenged food into miracles. Life scraped at the glass of hope and widened it. Trip stood on the second-tier walkway of the central keep, watching lines of people pass into the food halls. The spear of golden force leaned against the rampart like a flag. Beside him, Lamar warmed his wrists, flame coiling harmlessly up his forearms. Charmaine sampled a new ration, then immediately reworked the recipe on the spot. Smiles were more common now. Fear had been trained into a useful muscle rather than a paralyzing one. A translucent panel hovered before Trip's eyes. Tribulation panel, Guardian Architect. A name, Trip Adams. A class, Guardian Architect. A rank, SS. A level, 28, level plus 23 in 3 months. A base stats, unbuffed. O strength, 210. O agility, 150. O vitality, 380. O mind, 410. O willpower, 460. O HP, 1260. O MP, 2070. Trip blinked at the numbers. He'd gone from level 9 to 28 in 3 months of constant skirmishes, leadership, and late nights designing defenses. It had been exhausting and intoxicating. Then the panel added the one line they all watched more than anything else. People's Bulwark, SS passive, active. A population under infinite aegis, 24,200, from 2034. Air effect, plus 0.5% to all stats for every individual sheltered. A total passive bonus, plus 12,100%, x1 22.0 multiplier to final stats. Trip's jaw dropped. He did the math the way the system did, 0.5% times 24, 200 equals 12,100%, so add 121 to the base, i.e., multiply base stats by 122. That meant his own numbers became ridiculous on paper. Trip's buffed stats, final. A strength, 210 to 25,620. Air agility, 150 to 18,300. A vitality, 380 to 46,360. A mind, 410 to 50,020. A willpower, 460 to 56,120. A HP, 1,260 to 153,720. A MP, 2,070 to 252,540. Trip let out a laugh that sounded half insane and half cathedral bell loud. Numbers like those belonged in legends, not in the hands of a 25-year-old former concrete worker. Trip, Lamar said, breath fogging in the late morning chill. You look like I feel like I could punch a moon. This thing, it gets worse when more people come in. He'd gone from level 12 to level 34. His panel showed raw martial numbers, unbuffed strength and speed that, multiplied by the bulwark, made him a walking natural disaster. Lamar, buffed stats, final, unbuffed base shown on panel. Base, unbuffed strength 880, agility 700, vitality 600, mind 450, willpower 800, HP 4200, MP 1200. Buffed, times 122 strength 107,360.0, agility 85,400.0, vitality 73,200.0, mind 54,900.0, willpower 97,600.0, HP 512,400.0, MP 146,400.0. Charmaine, A-rank pyromancer and the dome's head of kitchens and morale, had also shot up. Her unbuffed mind and precision were now the mental equivalent of a battalion. Charmaine, buffed stats, final. Base, unbuffed strength 45, agility 52, vitality 60, mind 110, willpower 87, HP 900, MP 1500. Buffed, times 122 strength 5490.0, agility 6344.0, vitality 7320.0, mind 13420.0, willpower 10614.0, HP 109800.0, MP 183,000.0. They'd all read the same lines, stared at the same math, and come to the same quiet conclusion. Protecting people was not just altruism now. It was exponentially effective strategy. The dome was a multiplier, a force multiplier of mythic scale. And that was why the knock on the central keep's outer gate got everyone's attention. A militarized transport rolled in, scabbed and patched but intact, tires crunching over a repaired road. Two figures stepped down, a wide-shouldered man in modular plate with the look of someone who'd been issuing and taking orders for 2 decades, and a lean adolescent with his hair faded tight, rifle slung across his back with compulsive care. Trip's heart tightened then, because he understood the look. It was the look of people trained to stay sharp and move silently even in a crowd. The man bowed his head slightly. "Trip Adams. I am T. Coulson." His voice was even, military-tempered. "This is my son Amari. We have something to offer." He turned to his companion. Amari stepped forward, eyes like a younger version of his, efficient, unblinking. The dome's crowd gave a respectful hush. Trip's panel blinked a line into being as they approached. Tribulation panel, T. Coulson. A class, gunsmith. A rank, A. A level, 26. Stats, CR 260, Agi 200, Vit 300, Mind 240, Will 330, HP 1500, MP 800. Skills. A ballistic calibration, A. Accurately tune firearms to pierce or shatter specific defense types. A. Artillery forge, A. Conjure and fabricate heavy ordnance and specialty rounds inside the dome. A. Suppressive doctrine, B. Implement area control via optimized burst fire patterns. Fortified ammo, A. Craft rounds that ignore a percentage of target resistances. Tribulation panel, Amari Coulson. A class, gunsmith, prodigy. A rank, A. A level, 16. A unbuffed base stats, CR 160, Agi 220, Vit 210, Mind 180, Will 200, HP 900, MP 600. Skills. Mobile turret network, A. Deploy and remotely control compact auto turrets with rapid-fire variants. A. Overclock rounds, A. Short-burst rounds that temporarily overclock allied weapon systems for critical windows. A. Sniper's thread, B. Precision shots that cripple enemy limb functionality. T. Coulson's hands were scarred and oil-dark. He clasped them together, and there was no flourish in his bow, only professional deference. "We lost a lot out there," he said. "We heard about the dome. We saw people moving toward it like a tide. We came with metal, with barrels, and with blueprints. If you'll have us, we will train, design, and fight. We'll turn the perimeter into a belt of calibrated guns and turrets that can push back Rift's most persistent threats." Amari's gaze flicked to Trip's spear and then to the horizon as if measuring distance and wind. "Also," he said, quietly but with steel at the edge, "we can keep flying threats off balance. I can network turrets so they sync with the keystone nodes. He creates the domain, we make it rain." Trip swallowed, then extended his hand. "Hell yes." Hands met, an oath by contract, not by sand and trinkets. Lamar whooped, and Charmaine let a small triumphant smile cross her face, already scheming recipes for rations that could be eaten on the move. They didn't waste time. Within an hour, T. Coulson set up a mobile forge in the plaza. Piston hammers and improvised casting molds bellowed to life. Amari unrolled modular turret units on the battlements. Each unit hummed, sleek and hungry. He calibrated trajectories like a child solving a puzzle and then tested one with a single explosive round against a rusted old drone salvaged from an earlier wave. The drone shattered cleanly, its chassis vaporized into a cloud of slag. Trip watched the numbers and the people grow. Population update blinked in the corner of his vision as more survivors arrived in convoys and small triumphs of courage. Refugees who had once been a schoolteacher, a broken drone mechanic, a teenager who'd taught himself to weave nets that caught shrapnel. The dome's feeding lines, the med bays, the training pavilions, everything increased in efficiency. Every new person meant greater multiplication. And then the test call came, just before dusk, a scanner ping. Flyers, dozens, honing in on the district. The rift sky above had a thin tear, like a tooth that wanted the city for itself. Trip tapped his panel. The numbers were blazing. The bulwark's multiplier stayed, unchanged, monstrous. He gave the signal. T. Coulson's squad took positions. Amari deployed 3 mobile turrets to the east and linked them to Trip's keystone resonance nodes. Within seconds, the turrets were guided by Trip's targeting nodes and T. Coulson's ballistic maps. Charmaine distributed hot chow, a spicy stew that, unexpectedly, contained a small ration of fungal stamina spores she'd learned to cultivate inside the dome. Simple but more recovery for fighters. Lamar flared out front, a comet in human form. The flyer's dove. And the new belt of gunfire began. T. Coulson's artillery forged spat rounds that looked like tiny silver comets. Overclock rounds from Amari found weak joints on the wing things. Ballistic calibration set shells to shatter through chitin. The mobile turrets laid down a crossfire that made the sky look like it was raining metal. When Trip's keystone resonance linked with the turrets, they adjusted strike profiles mid-flight to compensate for wind and erratic trajectories. The coordinated fire sent the first outer wave of flyers into flames and tumbling wreckage. Trip did not sit idle. He manifested a chain of golden pylons, each one a target lock beacon and a backup barrier anchor. His Guardian's quake cut through a charging behemoth's momentum, then Lamar's Bach may strike, overdriven and magnified by the bulwark, punctured its throat. Charmaine's Dragon's Pan sent a sweeping firestorm that disoriented lighter flyers, giving the turrets time to finish their work. At the end, there were no civilian losses. A few of the gunsmiths' rounds smoked and fizzed, a handful of turrets needed recalibration. But no cries echoed into the night. People inside the dome celebrated with chants and laughter that tasted like relief. On the central walkway, Trip looked at the panel one more time. Population, 24,200, steady. Bulwark, plus 12,100%, times 122.0. He let the numbers sink in and then tried to store them away because numbers were only a tool. Beyond them was the reality. People, families, dreams, the stubborn little things humans clung to that had brought them to these walls. T. Coulson. Amari, Trip said finally, quiet and steady. If we keep this up, we can actually reach the objective the system gave us. 10% of the remaining population saved. The rift is not the end. Not if we build like hell. T. Coulson nodded once. Then we'll build bullets and belts, and we'll teach these people how to hold the line. Amari's eyes were as hard as ordnance, but they flashed, small, rare, like a child excited by a new tool. Lamar clapped a hand on Trip's shoulder. Population's our fuel. People equals power. Who needs gods when you've got neighbors? He said. Trip smiled, not because he loved the math, but because the math meant something sacred. Every person under the dome multiplied their ability to do good. Every single child, cook, old mechanic, and teacher was not merely protected, they were an engine. Outside, somewhere beyond the golden curve of the barrier, the rifts still breathed. Inside, the dome hummed. Metal forged, turret spun, stews simmered. People trained. And for the first time in a very long while, the future looked like something that could be fought for, and won. Chapter 7. The Wattus, Heart and Machine. There are two kinds of strength people carry into a crisis. One is the loud, immediate kind, fists that break stone, guns that sing like thunder, flames that melt armor. Trip had seen that all too often, and he'd learned to rely on it. The other kind was quieter. It lived in steady hands that tied bandages, in patient eyes that read vitals on a flicker of a screen, in fingers that coaxed life back into someone's chest. It smelled like antiseptic and stew, and it was just as lethal when wielded correctly. When the Wattus rolled into the plaza, Trip felt both. A battered med transporter trundled through the gate that evening, its hull scabbed with patchwork plates painted in a hand-lettered message, "Healers and Tech, offer peace." Two figures stepped down, one slim, methodical, with a calm that could steady a panic room, the other broad-shouldered, oil-streaked, hands that had once coaxed machinery to sing. They moved in perfect tandem, a practiced duet. The taller woman offered a small, formal dip of her head. "Trip Adams," she said. The voice was warm but steady. "I'm Kay Watu, formerly a nurse. Class: healer. Rank: B." Her eyes flicked over the people milling about with quick, assessing glances. "We heard about an impenetrable dome and came as fast as we could." The man beside her, older by a few years, smile folded under a rough beard, unrolled himself and gave Trip a curt nod. "Maruku Watu, cyberpress operator by trade. Now." He let the sentence hang and then added with a small, proud grin, "Dragon Summoner, rank A." The dome erupted into quiet murmurs. A dragon summoner? Inside Trip's head, the word thundered in a way that didn't match the couple's humble faces. But adventure had taught him something useful. Appearances could be deceiving. Trip's panel flickered as they approached. Tribulation panel, K. Watu. A class: healer. Rank: B. A level: 22. A base stats: unbuffed. O strength: 30. O agility: 60. O vitality: 200. O mind: 420. O willpower: 220. O HP: 1,100. O MP: 4,000. Skills: a lifebinder, B. Rapidly close wounds and stabilize grievous injuries. Heals scale with mind. A restorative field, C. Create a small area that speeds recovery and slows bleeding inside its radius. A calm protocol, B. Temporarily suppresses panic in groups, improving allied coordination and skill execution. Tribulation panel, Maruku Watu. A class: Dragon Summoner. A rank: A. A level: 29. A base stats: unbuffed. O strength: 220. O agility: 150. O vitality: 380. O mind: 500. O willpower: 440. O HP: 2,800. O MP: 5,000. Skills: a draconic call, A. Summon a drake or proto-dragon to fight. Drake scales with willpower and mind. A Skyfire bond, A. Link a summoned dragon to keystone resonances for synchronized strikes. A Cyberforge link, B. Integrate mechanical constructs with draconic mana to stabilize high-output weapons. Trip's chest tightened as he read. Their unbuffed stats looked respectable, Maruku's mind and willpower especially so. If the bulwark multiplied them like it did everyone else, they would be extraordinary inside the dome. Trip stepped forward. "We'd be honored to have you. The dome's full of people who need help, and the front needs dragons. If you can hold the sky and patch our own, we can do a lot." K. Wata's smile was small, professional. "We'll help where we can. The first goal is to stabilize as many as possible. Second goal, make sure your fighters can stay in the field longer." She glanced at Charmaine, who was busily portioning rations, and gave her a tiny, grateful nod. Maruku's grin grew wider. "And I'll bring some wings." He slapped a case open. Inside, coiled like a sleeping animal, was a condensed mana harness, old tech modified with new sigils. He set it on the ground, and the sigils hummed. Notification: Allies entered Aegis. People's Bulwark applies. A population under Infinite Aegis, 24,200, unchanged. A People's Bulwark, plus 0.5% per person, plus 12,100%, times 122.0 multiplier. The bulwark held steady. Trip's screen showed its unchanged, planet-wrenching math. K. and Maruku watched the panel as their own numbers re-rendered under the multiplier, and their faces went from composed to quietly incredulous. K. Watu, buffed stats, times 122 bulwark. A strength, 3,660. A agility, 7,320. A vitality, 24,400. A mind, 51,240. A willpower, 26,840. A HP, 134,200. A MP, 488,000. Maruku Watu, buffed stats, times 122 bulwark. A strength, 26,840. A agility, 18,300. A vitality, 46,360. A mind, 61,000. A willpower, 53,680. A HP, 341,600. MP, 610,000. K. Watu's gaze flicked up, then down to Trip. We'll need a triage zone that's closer to the gate, but out of direct line of fire. I can set up a restorative field and triage team. With Charmaine's food and our meds, fighters can recover faster during lulls. Charmaine's response was immediate and maternal. I can do stew rations that synergize with her field, speedy digestive boosters, sterilized broths, trivial things that increase the healing multiplier. People recover faster when they're fed well. Maruku unslung a compact rod and tapped it against the keystone node. A faint dragon-etched glyph blinked awake. I can link a drake to the keystones, he said. It'll anchor to your turrets and spears, Trip. Skyfire Bond will sync strike windows. When you push, it breathes. When the turrets track, it dives. If we coordinate, he spread his hands, we can make the air a no-fly zone. Trip felt the familiar rush, strategy, potential, people who could turn plans into force. He gave the order. Set up your triage in the Eastern Pavilion. Maruku, test a summon on the training drones. Show me the linkage. The training fields came alive. K. Wata moved with precise economy. Bandages, synth antiseptic, quick clamps. Her hands were an instrument. She taught med civilians how to apply pressure, how to use restorative field safely so it didn't leach mana from the patient. Her calm protocol quieted crying parents and made fighters breathing steady enough to channel their abilities more cleanly. Trip watched as a jittery recruit's shot pattern tightened after 3 minutes in her influence. Maruku worked differently. He danced circles around a rusty drone, chanting in a cadence that was mechanical rather than mystical. The harness in his case pulsed like a heartbeat. Sigils flared along the harness and then erupted into the air. Smoke, light, and a baby drake unfolded itself like folded metal uncurled. Scales like dark copper, eyes glittering with intelligence, it shook and flexed. Draconic call. Drakeling summoned, A Drakeling base stats, linked to Maruku's, will slash mind offensive output scales with willpower and mind. Ability, flame sweep, tail barrier, targeted dive bomb. Maruku grinned like a proud parent. He synchronized the Drake to Trip's keystone nodes. The keystone pulsed, the turrets winked, and the Drake tilted its head as if understanding a map of the sky. Skyfire Bond, on, Maruku announced. The Drake leapt, riding a lane of guided fire, and clipped a test drone out of the air in a single clean strike. The impact scattered sparks and old circuitry, and the training drone detonated into a harmless fountain of molten screws. Amari's turrets hummed to life, adjusting aim for in-flight coordination. Coulson watched with approval, his jaw set as he imagined the artillery maps with dragons on the vectors. That night, when the 5th cluster of flyers came back like storm swarms taking advantage of low light, the dome's perimeter was ready in a way it hadn't been before. Maruku's Drake dove with lethal grace, trampling into leading flyers and spearing them with flame. Where a single turret might flicker and miss, Skyfire Bond guided a trio of turrets to converge on the dragon's arc for maximum overkill. Amari's overclock rounds found the exposed joints the Drake hack opened. Trip's keystone resonance adjusted the turrets for wind and dragon disturbance mid-flight. Lamar and Coulson dealt with anything that punched through. Charmaine lit the ground to disorient lower flyers. K. Watu's restorative field followed the returning fighters like an invisible hand, stitching their wounds and pulling them back into the fray with miraculous speed. Casualties. Minimal. Downtime. Slashed. After the fight, Trip watched medics cart off only a handful of treated and bandaged bodies. K. moved through the line, healing injured and soothing worry wherever it showed itself. Maruku's Drake snoozed like an indolent watchdog at his feet, scales steaming in the humid night. Trip's panel chimed softly. EXP gain, plus 3,400, leadership/coordination. Level up. Trip Adams, 29. He glanced at the group. Lamar clapped Maruku on the back. Charmaine fussed over a pot. Amari and Coulson debated over ballistic arcs. The dome hummed, the human equation working, multiplied. Trip's chest swelled with a fierce, quiet realization. This wasn't about becoming unbeatable for him. The bulwark had turned people into instruments of survival, but the integrity of that instrument depended on one unglamorous thing. Bandaging, feeding, calibrating, these were as vital as any spear thrust. Maruku's dragons could break a wave, but without nurses to stitch the torn and cooks to restore stamina, the fighters would burn out. The Wattus were the bridge between heart and machine. Watu looked up at Trip, tired but satisfied. "You're doing something right," she said simply. "The dome's not a fortress of stone. It's a hospital, home, and stronghold. Keep it that way." Maruku scratched the drake behind the ear. "And keep room in your plans for my dragons. We prefer to fly in company." Trip grinned, the weight of leadership heavy and honest on his shoulders. "Then we'll keep building walls, kitchens, medbays, turrets, and dragon stables. We'll make sure every person under this dome counts." Above them, beyond the golden curve of the infinite aegis, the rifts still breathed into the night. Inside, life grew, a strange, fierce organism made of people, purpose, and the exponential math of the bulwark. They were far from done. But they were not helpless. Not anymore.